Iraqi commanders entered Kuwait certain of victory and equally certain of themselves, having spent years engaging in hard fighting and being fully equipped with Soviet-trained doctrine. In broadcasts from Baghdad, officials promised the world the mother of all battles, assuring their troops that American soldiers were soft, over-reliant on gadgets, and fundamentally unprepared for desert warfare. Republican Guard divisions, armored, mechanized, and confident after years of war, had dug in around key approaches to Kuwait City, fortifying their positions with extensive minefields, formidable earthen berms, and overlapping artillery belts. The core of their strategy was a belief that massed forces, entrenched guns, and the flat, open Kuwaiti terrain would inevitably turn any coalition ground push into a protracted, costly slugging match. Intelligence estimates inside Iraq consistently reinforced this boast, with the Guard's officers pointing to their T-72 main battle tanks, mobile surface-to-air missile SAM batteries, and heavy massed artillery as the decisive factors that would neutralize Western air superiority. They were planning for yesterday's war, believing American forces would be forced to close with them where sheer numbers and prepared positions would decide the day. The 6-lane artery of Highway 80, which they used to invade Kuwait in August 1990, served as a confidence line on their map, presumed to be a guaranteed supply route now, and, crucially, a guaranteed exit route later. They proclaimed that, should withdrawal become necessary, it would be organized, swift, and the combat power would remain intact. This confidence, rooted in Soviet-era doctrine and recent combat experience, was about to meet something it did not understand: an American air-ground machine that turned the night into a weapon and leveraged systemic, network-centric advantages. This threat, a large, combat-experienced force determined to survive and return home with its heavy weapons intact, was the strategic paradox the coalition had to solve. Tactical architecture revealed. What Iraqi forces could not see was the integrated coalition machine forming against them, a system designed to deny them a safe exit, compress their choices, and completely erase their combat power under the open sky. Weeks before a single American armored brigade crossed the line of departure, coalition air forces had methodically dismantled Iraq's entire air defense network. AWACS, Airborne Warning and Control System, aircraft provided a continuous, deconflicted air picture across the massive area of operations, while JSTARS, Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System, tracked moving columns in real time, learning the traffic patterns of Iraqi convoys and watching the road network like a living chart. Space-based reconnaissance mapped command posts, ammo dumps, and staging areas down to precise grid coordinates, providing commanders with a map that moved and evolved. Unknown to the Iraqi field commanders, GPS, Global Positioning System, transformed the featureless desert into a precision grid for every American tank, every infantry battalion, and every strike aircraft, breaking the tyranny of terrain and allowing forces to maneuver around hardpoints rather than through them.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
Electronic warfare aircraft, including F-117 stealth jets, had already opened gaps in the air defenses on the first nights of the air war and were critical to keeping them open, while SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses assets, flew ahead of bombers. Declassified intelligence assessments show that this methodical degradation of the Iraqi command structure, the deliberate pacing of air operations, and the delayed ground assault left Republican Guard divisions unable to coordinate defense once American armor crossed the line of departure. The coalition's superiority was measured not just in hardware, but in rehearsal hours, timing tapes, and the relentless practice that prepared forces. American units rehearsed combined arms timing until it functioned with the singular efficiency of one organism. Tank crews ran live-fire tables at ranges Iraqi gunners couldn't even reach, with the discipline of professional soldiers. Airmen flew complex strike packages until refueling, ingress, and egress sounded like scripted music, with pilots executing timing gates and engaging assigned grid squares with clockwork precision. Artillery units drilled counter-battery with ANTPQ radars that could locate an enemy gun within moments of its first shot, often silencing the position in minutes. This was not a reactive force, but a proactive system. While Iraqi officers reassured their soldiers that American night fighting claims were propaganda, American crews were verifying coordinates, building target sets, and waiting for the moment the enemy chose the most predictable option. Training excellence meant that American NCOs and junior officers could execute commanders' intent even when communications failed, whereas Iraqi doctrine required rigid orders moving through fragile headquarters, causing subordinate units to stand, wait, or flee when those headquarters failed. The ground offensive began on February 24, 1991, and the technological gap translated immediately into seconds of decisive advantage. Coalition units breached and bypassed defensive belts that Iraqi commanders had advertised as impenetrable, with thermal sights turning fighting positions into beacons. Night vision and thermal imaging meant there was no darkness for coalition eyes, owning the night with a sensor advantage the enemy did not anticipate. American M1A1 Abrams crews, firing from 2,500 to 3,000 meters in complete thermal clarity, recorded kills before the enemy even knew they had been engaged. Survivors later confessed that they had never faced an opponent who could see and kill at those ranges in darkness, underscoring the total blindness the enemy experienced. Iraqi artillery attempted to assert its doctrine: saturate, pin, destroy, but the American counter-battery assets marked their launch points and silenced them in minutes. In the air, Iraqi mobile SAMs attempted to maneuver, but harm missiles and deception tactics blinded and isolated them, ensuring that the air supremacy remained contested only for moments. As the coalition's ground hook began to close, effectively threatening to cut off Iraqi forces in Kuwait, High Command in Baghdad ordered a withdrawal. The route selected was both predictable and vulnerable: Highway 80, the main line from Kuwait City to Basra. Leadership decisions had locked in the asymmetry from the start, choosing not to batter the front where the enemy waited, but to swing wide with speed, cut roads, and sever escape routes. This decision, made by senior commanders, forced the enemy into an impossible choice: stand and be isolated, or run and be exposed, a maneuver that Soviet doctrine had failed to anticipate. J-stars painted the convoy's movement as a growing trail of heat and motion, guiding fighters and strike packages overhead in real time. Iraqi commanders believed movement equaled safety, but under the controlled, hostile sky of modern warfare, movement only equaled exposure. By the night of February 26-27, the convoy became a trapped artery, a massive queue of tanks, APCs, trucks, and support vehicles stretching for miles. Intercepts recorded command posts requesting updates from battalions already destroyed or out of contact, illustrating the immediate command structure failure.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
Victory mechanism and legacy. A single failure in coordination could have opened a seam, allowing a significant portion of the enemy force to escape with their armor and artillery intact. A temporary choke in tanker availability, the near-miss moment, threatened to thin the continuously stacked strike packages that were destroying the retreating column. However, air refueling control flexed KC-135s and KC-10s forward, compressing refueling windows to preserve continuous on-station time for the fighter and attack jets. The enemy never saw relief. The flow of aircraft continued without interruption because the system was engineered against single-point failure, demonstrating the quiet competence that logistics and planning provide when a professional force expects to fight for minutes, not months. This ability to sustain an intense, focused operation, fueling, maintenance, and munitions availability was itself an institutional excellence that proved decisive. The fundamental collapse of the Iraqi army was rooted in several fatal miscalculations. They thought night fighting would negate the coalition's advantage, while American armor, infantry, and aircraft owned the night with thermal sights and night vision goggles, NVGs. They believed their Soviet-built T-72s could trade blows with the M1A1 Abrams, failing to recognize that the American 120mm smoothbore gun killed beyond Iraqi reach, and American composite armor survived hits Iraqi gunners thought decisive. They assumed massed artillery could pin American forces long enough to inflict casualties, but counter-battery radars and air support delivered fast, accurate punishment that silenced Iraqi guns before they could adjust. They expected weeks of grinding attrition, but the coalition ground war was resolved in approximately 100 hours. They trusted that withdrawal guaranteed survival on Highway 80. But air supremacy turned their predictable retreat into an invitation to complete destruction. After-action reports confirmed that American armor met Iraqi armor in night engagements that Iraqi officers had believed impossible, producing lopsided kill ratios with negligible coalition tank losses. The ground war's speed and the annihilation of Iraqi capability inverted the promise broadcast by Baghdad. The convoy that set out to recross the border did not, with final tallies confirming approximately 2,000 vehicles destroyed or abandoned along Highway 80 and feeder routes in a single night of strikes. The strategic effect was a cascading sequence. Air supremacy isolated the battlefield. Isolation allowed rapid maneuver. Maneuver cut roads. Cut roads forced a mass retreat. And the mass retreat created a predictable, target-rich route that became a kill zone that broke any remaining cohesion. This decisive victory was the consequence of a superior military doctrine, the fusion of maneuver warfare and combined arms integration executed by a professional force. Coalition planners did not plan for an attrition war, but for the systemic failure of the enemy, which they induced by relentlessly attacking command, control, and mobility. American forces operated with decentralized execution, meaning NCOs and junior officers could execute commanders' intent even when communications with brigade or division headquarters were severed. By contrast, Iraqi preparation, rooted in Soviet principles of linear defenses and centrally controlled fire, met an opponent that saw through darkness and smoke, could move off-road using GPS to attack from unexpected bearings, and could hit specific vehicles with precision. The world watched a demonstration that American strength is not simply theater, it is the ability to link sensors to shooters across services and allies, to rapidly move fuel and ammunition forward, and to rehearse until near misses become minor pauses. The aftermath proved that when American forces plan thoroughly, integrate relentlessly, and execute jointly, the result is decisive, and the numbers are merciless. For a generation that has heard doubts about American capability, the historical record offers calibration. The coalition did not promise miracles, it executed fundamentals at scale. Intelligence supremacy, night ownership, joint fires, rapid exploitation, and leadership that forced the enemy into one terrible decision after another. That combination of training, technology, and tactical doctrine remains the foundation of American military power today, ready to deploy when national command authority determines the mission requires it. If future adversaries mistake American restraint for weakness, if they confuse preparation with arrogance, or if they rely on doctrine that belongs to yesterday, the battlefield will correct them, just as it did on Highway 80. The ledger of wrecked armor and abandoned trucks is not just debris. It is doctrine graded in the harshest classroom on Earth, a quiet demonstration of competence expressed as tempo. American capability, deliberate, overwhelming, undeniable, delivers the result that was planned from the start. What you've seen is only the beginning. America's power is just getting started. On your screen is the next video. Click the video, it opens right away, and you'll watch US jets and technology strike even harder.